Okay, welcome folks. Um, yeah, good to be with you. So yeah, let's sit together. Like nectar settling to the bottom of a glass of juice, Thich Nhat Hanh says. And there can be some measure of tranquility when we're not trying to keep all the balls up in the air, when we're not trying to suppress, as if keeping 50 ping pong balls submerged underwater. We let what's in the air come to the surface, what's subterranean come to the surface. How radically might we relinquish the attempt to control experience. And maybe we think the mind calls out, no, 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 I have to control my attention. I have to do the meditation. I have to do the letting go. I have to make progress. We have to come to trust that you're already enough doing nothing whatsoever. Maybe we follow wherever the thread of interest takes us. What is this? What is this moment, this life? is suffering. When there's curiosity, investigation, Dhamma, Vichaya, doesn't matter where the attention goes, it's animated by interest. Interest is for itself, but turns out to be a very conducive intention to the development of our practice. So often our attention is a kind of appendage of our wanting. Can we be awake in such a way that we're not extracting something from the moment, but instead offering our attention as a kind of blessing, settling back, kind of receptivity, no more bartering with samsara. Put all of your hope into this moment. Okay, folks, good to practice with you. Um, so I'll be away for a few weeks, actually. Um, I've avoided this, but so far for certain Wednesdays, but next 3 weeks I'll be away actually in New York. If any of you are there, I'm at New York Insight. Be nice to maybe see some YouTube people in real life if you like. I think I'm there the 29th, doing a benefit for that group. And yeah, and then I'll be back July 9th, certain Wednesdays. So, okay. So, uh, one of um, one of my friends, fellow Dharma teacher, and very kind of intuitive body worker, somatic experiencing practitioner. Um, we would be in like the teacher's office at Spirit Rock during a walking period or before a talk or guided meditation or something. There's just a few of us in the office, and he would just kind of we'd be like sitting around talking, and he would just like pick up my leg and just start massaging it and manipulating it, and it wasn't weird for him. It was like, okay, yeah. And he knew that I kind of had an old meditation injury that had sort of hardened into some chronic pain. And whatever he was doing, I just let him do. It felt very good. It felt like there was wisdom in his hands. And at some point, he would sort of like ask, like, what does your leg want to do? And I remember one time it was like, okay, it wants to sort of kick the air, it wants to like move out forcefully. And it was a movement of some kind of aggression, is how it felt. And he said, uh, that's right, yeah. There's some movement of fight in the fight, flight, freeze kind of thing. This needs fight. There's some fight that hasn't been completed, and the energy needed to be guided into movement to complete something. And that was a very particular context, but I begin with that because the question arises for me is like, what does it look like to channel anger, aggression into something useful? And anger is kind of a little taboo, maybe, in Dharma circles. It's very easy to disavow. It very clearly belongs to the bouquet of afflictive emotions. And and sometimes it's more comfortable for us to say that anger is just the armor, or anger just protects us from some more fundamental feeling that sometimes say like, oh yeah, anger is the secondary feeling. Before that, fear or grief or shame or something lies under the anger. And our preference is for the less aggressive spectrum of feeling. Maybe we have more okayness in a way in the scene with fear or grief. And anger is sort of like, no, that can't be the primary thing. It can't be the bedrock or something. So we can disown that. And we maybe say, like, well, it may be part of our defense that we say anger is just a distorted expression of fear or something like this. Yeah, okay. And I've spoken almost glowingly and without regret about grief. but rarely about anger, certainly not glowingly. And I've done that for a reason. I do think there's less wisdom in anger often than there is in grief. But even with anger, it's not zero wisdom. Now, in kind of opening the door to anger, we want to be careful. And anger aversion is literally like, one of the three pillars, one of the three well well springs of suffering. Greed, hate, delusion, right? And and if we've paid attention to our own minds or to others, we know that anger um, can destroy us. Can destroy those around us, can destroy communities and societies. And from the Samyutta Nikaya, the what's the one thing, O Gautama, whose killing you approve? The killing of anger is the response, with its poisoned root and honeyed tip. This is the killing the noble ones praise. For having slain that, one does not sorrow. Yeah, poisoned root, honeyed tip. Fair enough. And I'm not there, but I can envision a mind free from anger, as radical as that is. I can envision a kind of uprooting of aversion so thorough and an understanding of causality so deep that anger does not arise. Because I do feel, not pivoting to talk trash about anger, but um, I do feel like anger in the end is a basic confusion, an impoverished model of causality. And I can see anger is never the last word. There's always something more to be seen. And at some point, our emotional system may find ways of expressing our love and our boundaries in such a way that does not involve rage. But until I'm that free, till I'm free from that, and my emotional system really is changed, I need to listen to my anger and to extract its wisdom, to untangle the delusion and the wisdom, to find a way of making that movement that I was being invited to make, that kicking of my leg that doesn't harm anyone, to find a way of kicking that kind of expresses force but clarity. And all this is to say that uh, I've been aggrieved, angered by the profligate moral vandalism of our president and the wanton cruelty that delights in uh, inflicting suffering on imagined enemies. And and when somebody asks me how I'm doing, I like there's a dimension of my heart. It's true. I can say honestly, extremely happy. And in a sense, that well-being is not occluded by, but it coexists with a lot of heartache and anger over so much unnecessary suffering. And so, can I extract the wisdom from my anger? Can I untangle the wisdom from the delusion that I also know is there? And what I'm asking myself, what is a wise, powerful expression of the energy of no? What does that look like? And we need to kind of turn to our moral heroes, you know? I read the recent, I think it won the Pulitzer, by a very biography of King, quite superb, Jonathan Igue. And it's a book for our times. And in that biography argues that history has sort of mistaken King's nonviolence for passivity, and it's sanitized and polished the legacy in a way that doesn't do justice to just how radical and fearless the approach was. And the book argues that we've forgotten that the approach was more forceful than most anything the country had seen. And moral outrage, it needs a place to go, like that energy at the leg. It needs a place to go. But I don't want to kind of distort the energy. I don't want to express it in a way that comes out sideways, you know. And when I do that, there's a kind of instant karmic reverberation. Sometimes even just giving a Dharma talk, I'll just like, something's not quite aligned in my heart. There's something self-indulgent or um, melodramatic or self-involved or something. I'll feel it afterwards. And with this, I want to find a way of expressing this energy cleanly in my life, in my teaching, in my practice. And when the feeling is not kind of expressed or discharged, is not channeled in some way, it sort of rattles around the cage of the heart mind. And that rattle compounds the pain, the kind of passivity and the inactivity compounds the pain. It's easier to get angry when there's no movement of the energy out. And so action, sometimes the only way to actually discharge the pain of that. And so, okay, as a Dharma practitioner, where does this energy go? How is this alchemically transformed in a way, knowing, just how much faith we develop in love and just how profound the moral, persuasiveness of love is, so much more persuasive than unmitigated anger. Okay, it sounds paradoxical, but can one's anger inform one's love? And I have the sense that in King, that something like that happened, that he kind of mastered that process of moving the energy of outrage, moral outrage, into courage and love. So this is February 1957, 70 years ago. King wrote, "In speaking of love at this point, we're not referring to some sentimental emotion. It would be nonsense to urge people to love their oppressors in an affectionate sense. Love in this connection means an understanding of goodwill. When we speak of loving those who oppose to us, we refer neither to eros nor philia. We speak of a love which is expressed in the Greek word agape. Agape means nothing sentimental or basically affectionate. It means understanding, redeeming goodwill for all people, an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. It is the love of God working in the lives of humans. When we love on the agape level, we love people not because we like them, not because their attitudes and ways appeal to us, but because God loves them. We don't have exactly the same theological language to pull on, but it's close enough. It's close enough to love because God loves them. Yeah. And we put it all the movement of the heart into expressing our care. So I offer this for your consideration, and yeah, may we find ways of expressing all that's wise in us. Okay, I wish you well. See you in July.